Welcome back to 12 Acres and welcome to this week's highlights video. Well, the week started off with our usual daily walks with Tim, making sure that he's staying active every single day, even on the weekends, and it also gives him a good indicator of how he's feeling. We also went and looked at a couple of calves and ended up buying them, and the little bald-faced black one there is a boy, and he is 6 months old, and then the little brown one, she's a girl, and she is almost a year old. However, she was kind of a slow starter. She had a difficult first few days of life, and so she had a lot of setbacks. Okay. And plus she's at the bottom of their totem pole there, and so she wouldn't ever get much food. So hopefully we can put a little weight on her and she'll start looking, a little better. But so far they're doing good. Tim does try to stay busy as much as he can. It not only keeps him occupied, but also I think it helps him feel better, as far as his stomach and digestion, because we still don't know exactly what all is going on in his body. But we keep track of everything that he eats and does, his medications, the time that he does these things, when he has any weird symptoms, we write it all down. So he has had still occasional jaw pressure, some high blood pressure spikes, as well as some faint feelings in his arm, in his left arm, that are really unexplainable. So we aren't so far able to connect it to anything that he's doing. So I don't know. We're just continuing to monitor.
Come on, Mr. Smith.
Mom, I have a gemstone.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. And my new gemstone.
Come on.
The kids' crystal growing experiment was a success. The crystals finally eventually stopped growing, and once the crystals themselves stopped growing, they put out this, what they call salt trees, which are very fragile, powdery little growths, and they end up being washed off of the actual crystals, so none of that stuff stays on there, but pretty neat. It was pretty fun watching these things grow and see how they form, because they are all different.
I know.
No, this was more bite. Mom, I'm shining white onto that thing right there.
The yellow one's definitely the prettiest.
Mine's better. Yours needs to be a little brighter.
But the black one is weird looking.
Come on, Maggie. She sees him, though. She's looking right at him.
And after a couple of days, we let Maggie and the goats out there with the new babies.
What is that, Maggie? They're still just standing there.
Maggie walked almost the whole way out there with her head down low and snorting very loudly. The boys said she sounded really scary and mean. Sergey is not a fan of the new babies. despite having them all together, the babies still chose to stay way up in the farthest corner and would not come up to eat or drink, so I was having to haul food down there to them.
What a nasty day out there.
And since the babies wouldn't come up to eat or drink, we got all the kids out there with us, and we kind of had to move them up, cowboy style, all the way up the pasture and got them up into the pen, or the smaller pasture anyway. So they're all contained in a smaller area so that the babies can finally get used to everybody and get used to me calling for them and coming for food and all of that stuff. But as you can see, the goats are still bossing them around. So I've been feeding them in multiple different places to make sure everybody gets food. And then I eventually kicked the goats out completely, and so the babies and Maggie were by themselves together to hopefully bond. Tim had had a really bad blood pressure spike 2 days in a row. So he's had multiple blood pressure spikes 2 days in a row, plus constant jaw pain on this particular day. And so we actually went up to the hospital. But by the time we got up there, because it's almost an hour drive, by the time we got there, he had felt a lot better. So we ended up choosing to not go in. Because anytime we've gone in for these blood pressure spikes and he feels fine while he's there, they're like, oh, nothing's wrong with you. They run all the usual tests and everything's perfectly fine. And so they send him home. So we didn't go in because we knew that would be the same scenario.
Well,
I hear if the clouds are just right, it can make like a perfect.
These blood pressure spikes have been so exhausting to Tim, so it's been very, very difficult and stressful, and he's so afraid that if he doesn't stay busy, then they're just going to spike up again, because that does seem to be when it happens. So just staying busy, doing things around the house, working on this and that, and trying to get by day. But Friday night, during our regular walk, he started to have chest pains as well as left arm pain that was much more severe than what he's had, and the chest pains were actually quite shockingly severe. So we ended up back at the emergency room, and they are actually admitting him right now as I am making this video. He has finally been moved to a room. I'll be fixing the head up there here shortly and see what's going to happen. The nurse that took care of him last night in the emergency room was pretty confident that they would probably want to do a cath this morning and get up in there and see what's going on. So hopefully they will find some answers, because clearly something is wrong.